Did he stay over during this time period that you knew him? Would he spend the night with you?
He was supposed to, but he never came back.
What do you mean he was supposed to?
Like, he was telling me, I'm going to stay tonight, and then he just didn't.
How do you know that?
Because if I wake up, the cover was still the way that I put it, and he wasn't there.
Would you all go to bed together?
No.
Where did you expect him to stay if he was staying with you?
In the living room.
And while we're talking about who was staying with you, was anyone else living with you at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
Who else was living?
My daughter's cousin.
What's her name?
Naisha.
Okay. Did anything happen with Naisha during this time period?
She just didn't follow my rules, so I tried to get her evicted.
What do you mean by follow your rules?
The guidelines in my house.
Which were what?
The cleanliness.
So what was she not doing that abides by your cleanliness?
She wouldn't clean up, and her daughter had urinated on my daughter's floor, and it had my whole house smelling.
So you wanted to do what based on that?
Get her put out. I wanted her to leave.
So what did you do?
I went and typed a letter up, and I was going to get it notarized.
And where did you put that letter?
In the glove box of his car.
What kind of car did he have?
A black Impala.
Did you ever see him drive a different car?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And did you ever see him let anyone else drive that Impala?
Besides me, no, ma'am.
And when you drove it, was he with you or let you drive it alone?
He was with me.
So you said you put the letter in the glove box?
Yes, ma'am.
Why was that?
Because I was going to the bank to get it notarized.
Do you remember when you put that in there?
Thursday. It was a Thursday.
On Thursday?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I believe I interrupted you, but you said on Thursday. What were you planning on doing on Thursday?
I was supposed to go to my mom's house and wash clothes.
And where, in general, did your mom live? What side of town?
Northeast.
Okay. And how were you going to get there?
He was going to take me.
And did he take you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Were you able to wash your clothes?
No, ma'am.
And so what did you do because you couldn't wash your clothes?
I brought him back home to my house.
Was there anything significant that needed to be washed?
My work shirt.
Why did it need to be washed?
Because I needed it for work.
So since you couldn't wash
I couldn't wash it at my mom's house.
So what did you do based on that?
I asked him if he could wash it at his sister's house.
And did he?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see him wash it or did he just take it?
He took it.
And was your daughter with you at this time?
No, ma'am.
Where was your daughter?
She was with my mom.
Okay. Was that normal or out of the ordinary?
It was normal.
So Thursday afternoon into Thursday night, where are you at?
At home.
With who?
Nate.
What are y'all doing?
Watching TV.
And do you remember what you were watching?
Something on the Ion channel.
Something on the what?
Ion channel.
Ion channel, okay. And at what point did you or do you go to bed?
It was around 12:01 in the morning.
Earlier you said he didn't sleep with you. Did he sleep with you that night? And by sleeping, I mean literally going to sleep in your bed.
No.
Okay. Where were you?
In my bed.
Where was he when you went to sleep?
Downstairs.
How do you know he was downstairs?
The TV was still on, and before I went to bed, I went back downstairs to make sure.
And what was he wearing on Thursday?
A gray Nike hoodie with the drawstrings and like the windbreaker sweatpants.
What color were the sweatpants?
Like a navy blue.
And was it a hoodie or a sweatshirt?
It was a thin shirt with a hood on it.
With a hood on it, okay. So you said he's downstairs and you go to your room and go to sleep?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you go to sleep, he's downstairs?
Mm-hmm.
You positive of that?
Unless he left, because he's good about leaving.
But when you last saw him, he was downstairs, is that?
Yes,
I don't want to
ma'am.
put words in your mouth, but is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So what time do you go to bed?
Around 1:32.
And at that point, he's downstairs at 1:30.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Where is he there when you wake up?
No.
And what time did you wake up?
I have to be to work around 7, so I wake up around 5:30, 6 o'clock.
And so around 5:30, 6 o'clock, he's not there.
No, ma'am.
Was that what you expected?
No.
What did you expect?
Him to be there.
Why?
Because Because he told me he was going to be there when I wake up.
And why, or had you asked him to be there when you woke up?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Because I don't like staying by myself.
And had he made you any promises about staying?
Mm-hmm.
What
Yes, ma'am.
What did he tell you?
That he would be there when I wake up,
But he wasn't.
but he wasn't.
So what did you do when you woke up and he wasn't there?
I called his phone and I texted him.
Did you get a response?
No.
Okay. So you said you called and you texted his phone. Did he have more than one phone or just one phone?
More than one phone.
Do you remember how many he had?
2.
Did you try to call both or
Yes,
just
ma'am.
one? Did you get a response on either phone?
No, ma'am.
All right, so how did you feel about that?
I was upset because I knew I had to go to work, and I don't like being late for work.
Okay. So what did you do?
I called my mom, and by the time I got off the phone with my mom, he was pulling in the driveway.
Do you remember what time that was?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Was it after you were supposed to have already been at work?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were supposed to be at work at 7?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did you do when how did you know he'd gotten there? Start there.
I looked out the window and I seen his car out there.
So could you see your front yard from your window?
Yes, ma'am.
Which
the front
window?
The front window.
Like your bedroom front window, your
The
living room?
living room.
Okay. So what do you do when you see him?
I went outside to ask him where my shirt was.
And I'm going to stop a little bit. When you see him pull up, what is he driving?
His black Impala.
And you go outside, you said?
Yes, ma'am.
And what do you say?
Where's my work shirt?
Because did you have your uniform?
I had my pants and my shoes on, but I didn't have my shirt because he was supposed to wash it.
And did he have it?
Yes, but it was wet.
It was wet.
Mm-hmm.
Did you tell him or say anything to him about that?
Yes, ma'am.
What'd you say?
Why is my shirt wet? When you said you was going to dry my clothes, wash my shirt and dry it.
What'd he say?
Nothing really.
Okay. And let me ask you this. Were you real nice about the way you asked or were you upset?
I was upset.
And does he give you your shirt?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you said that. And so what do you do at that point?
I asked him for my work hat.
And tell Jerry, what's your work hat?
It's like a sun visor with an M on it.
And I'm going to repeat what you said because you mumbled a little bit. Did you say it was a visor?
Yes, with an M on it for McDonald's.
And where had you left that visor?
In the back window.
Of what?
His car.
Of what
Next
kind of car?
His Impala.
Okay. And when had you left it there?
The day before when he picked me up.
And where did you leave it?
In the back window.
So what, if anything, did you expect about that visor when he showed up? Where did you expect it to be?
In the window.
Was it?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did you ask him about that?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did he tell you?
That it was in the country.
And what did you say to that?
Why would it be in the country?
And what did he tell you?
It had blood on it.
I'm going to need you to repeat that.
It had blood on it.
He told you that the visor had blood on it.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ask him, what'd you ask him?
Why would the hat have blood on it?
And what did he tell you? You tell me.
Mind my business.
Mind your business. Did you ask him again?
Yes.
And what did he tell you?
Mind my business.
So he had your shirt but not your hat, so what'd you do?
I called my job and told my boss that I was on the way, and she had an extra hat for me.
And so what'd you do?
I left my house to go to work.
Were you able to go straight to his car?
Yes. No.
What happened?
He left and said that he had to take his nephew to school.
So after he shows up, he leaves again?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you do when he left?
I went out the door and I shut the door behind me, and I didn't know I had to unlock the door. So I had to go to my neighbor's house and wait for him to get back.
Where were your keys?
In his car.
And so you wait with your neighbor, I think you just said?
Yes, ma'am.
How long is he gone?
Like 10 minutes.
How long, and you said he went to go get his nephew?
To take his nephew to school.
Do you know where was his nephew in the car?
No.
Do you know where his nephew lived?
On Rosewood.
How long does it take to go from your house to the nephew's house?
Like from Leesburg to Rosewood, that's like 30 minutes.
So did he
With
have
traffic.
time to go from your house to his nephew's in that 10 minutes?
No.
So he leaves and comes back.
Yes, ma'am.
Had he already given you your shirt at that point?
No.
So when does he
I put my shirt on in the car.
So when you said he gave you back your shirt wet, was that before or after the first time he shows up at your house that morning?
The second time.
So the first time, I just want to make sure we got the timeline right. You ask him where it is,
Yes, ma'am.
and then the second time is when he actually gives it to you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And it's wet?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So what do you do with your wet shirt?
I had to put it on because I had to get to work.
And does he take you to work?
We went to the convenience store because he had to get gas on Leesburg.
Okay. And what, if anything, did you notice about the car at that point?
That it was like dry blood in the car,
Where in the car?
on the dashboard and beside the seats,
When you say the dashboard, what are you talking about?
where the airbags are,
Like the console?
Yes,
If I said
ma'am.
console? Okay. And where else did you see blood?
in the back seat.
In the back seat. Was anything else in the back seat?
It was a sheet over the back seat and the back of the driver's seat.
And how do you mean there was a sheet?
It was kind of like covering, but it wasn't all the way covering the seat.
Okay. Was it like draped on the seat so you could see the outline of the seat, or was it above the seat? Or describe
Just like
that.
through over the seat where you can't see.
Okay. Could you see anything in the back seat besides the sheet?
Blood
Where did you see blood then?
on the seat.
On the seat.
Mhm.
Okay. Not the part that was covered, or was it under the? Could you see through the sheet?
Like the part of the seat that wasn't covered, you could see blood.
Okay. What did you do when you saw the blood?
I asked him, why is it blood in the car? Did you hit a dog?
And what did he say?
Mind my business.
Did he tell you he hadn't had his car all day?
No.
Did he tell you where he'd been other than being in the country?
No.
Okay. So what did you do based on that?
After that, I went to work.
Okay. And who was supposed to pick you up from work that day?
He was supposed to pick me up.
How did y'all decide that?
I told him that what time that I got off, and he said that he would be there to pick me up.
And I'm gonna need you to say that again because you mumble a little.
I told him what time I got off, and he said that he would be there, make sure he was there to pick me up.
And was he there to pick you up?
No.
Okay. And before that, did he tell you what he was going to go do while you were at work?
Clean his car.
Did he have your keys?
Yes.
Why did he still have your keys?
Because I was worried about getting to work, and he looked like he was sleepy, so I let him get the key to go in the house to go to sleep.
Did you all talk about him being tired or sleepy?
No.
Okay. You just thought he was.
The way he looked.
And so you go to work. How did you get home if he
A
didn't show up?
coworker brought me home.
Coworker brought you home.
Mhm.
Is that out of the ordinary for a coworker to take you home?
No.
But this day, that wasn't supposed to
That
happen.
wasn't supposed to happen.
Okay. So what did you do when you got home?
I bammed on the door
Why?
because I didn't have my key, and he didn't pick me up from work, and I was mad.
All right. And I just realized I didn't ask you something. When he picked you up, what was he wearing? When he picked you up to take you to work, what was he wearing?
The same clothes.
The same clothes from when?
Thursday.
When you got home and banged on the door, did he answer?
Yes.
And what happened when he came to the door?
He looked shook,
And what do you mean by look shook?
like he seen a ghost.
And how did you bang on that door?
Hard, like the police.
Banged on it like the police.
Mm-hmm.
And when he looked shook?
Mm-hmm.
He showed up?
Yes,
All right.
ma'am.
What did he have on when he came to the door looking shook?
The same clothes.
And what did you do once you got in the house?
I went and took my shower and everything from work.
Did he take a shower?
No.
Did you say anything about that?
Yes, ma'am.
What'd you say? Go
Why
ahead.
you still have the same clothes on? Why you haven't washed your ass?
Say it again.
Why he haven't washed his ass?
You asked him why he hadn't washed his.
Ass. Yes,
Right.
ma'am.
Did he respond?
No.
So what did you do after you got out of the shower?
I put my clothes on and I went outside
And what was he doing?
cleaning the car,
Okay. Did you all cleaning the car how?
like scrubbing it with something.
Could you tell what he was cleaning it
It
with?
smelled like, the car smelled like chlorine.
And I'm gonna break that down. You say it smelled like chlorine. When did you first notice it smelled like chlorine? When you were going to work or after you came?
After I got off work.
Okay. You said you went outside. Were you standing by the car? Like how?
Yes, ma'am.
So what were y'all's plans that day?
To go to my mom's house.
You said, and I interrupted you. You said he was cleaning and you could smell chlorine?
It was bleach, but it was so strong it smelled like chlorine.
Did you see him in the car cleaning, or what did you see?
The bleach bottles on the seat, and the doors open.
All right. Did you help him clean?
No,
Why not?
it's not my car.
So, did you see him taking any items out of the car?
No.
Do y'all get back in the car?
Yes, ma'am.
And at that point, who's driving when you get back in?
I was.
Why?
I needed to go to my mom's house and get my rent money.
All right. And when you get in the car, did you have to do anything with the seat?
I had to adjust the seat
Why?
to my height.
Does his seat, is it upright or laid back?
When he's driving, it's laid back, but when I drive, it's up.
And so where do you go?
To my mom's house.
And you're driving.
Yes.
Do you stop anywhere?
I had to go to the ATM,
Okay. And while you're driving, what is he doing?
cleaning the car, still,
Still clean. With what?
like some type of wipes.
Did you ask him about that?
Yeah.
What'd you ask him?
Where do you get them from? Why are you cleaning the car with wipes?
What'd he say?
Not my business.
And what, if anything, does he have on his hands when he's doing this?
He had like the surgical gloves,
What do you mean by
the
surgical?
blue surgical gloves.
And did you see him clean anything besides the interior of the car?
This little hunter's knife-like thing.
I'm going to show you what's been marked. It states it. Let me show the photos. I'm going to show you what's been marked. It states exhibit number 13 and ask if you recognize that.
Yes, ma'am.
What is that?
The thing that he was cleaning.
And does that fairly and accurately depict the way it looked when you saw it?
Yes, ma'am.
This time I'd ask to introduce state's exhibit number 13 into evidence. There you are. So this is what you saw him cleaning?
Yes, ma'am.
And when was he doing this?
While I was driving down the road.
Had you ever seen him pull that tool out and clean it before that night?
No, ma'am.
So, had you seen him with that previously?
He showed it to me, but it wasn't open.
Okay, so this wasn't the first time you'd seen it, it was the first time you'd seen it open.
Open, yes, ma'am.
So you're driving around and he's cleaning the tool in the car.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Do you go to your mom's?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you able to get the money?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. What do you do after that?
I went back home to Mountain Brook and to wait on my landlord to pay my rent.
All right. At any point, do you leave again?
No.
Where's your daughter?
She was at daycare.
Okay. Do you ever have to go get her that day?
Yes, because I forgot she was at daycare. I was so tired.
Okay. So who was supposed to pick her up?
My mom was supposed to pick her up,
Did she?
but she didn't.
So what did you have to do because of that?
I had to drive his car to go get her.
Okay. Did he go with you?
Yes.
And so you go to what side of town was she located?
Killian.
Killian. Okay. So you go there and pick her up.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Where does she sit?
In the back, on the passenger side, in her seat,
In her seat.
her car seat. It's a bucket seat.
So when you say a bucket seat, is it like a booster seat or?
A booster seat, not the infant seat.
All right. So was it behind the driver or behind the passenger?
The passenger.
All right. Did you put her in the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there any conversation between you and Mr. Rowland about her getting in your car?
He told me he don't want her in the car, but I had no choice but to go get her
Did he tell you why?
because there was blood in the car.
So, but you have to go get her, you said?
Mhm.
So what did you do?
I went and got my baby.
Okay. And does she get in the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Where do y'all go after you pick her up?
We went back home.
So does she stay with you the rest of the night?
Yes, ma'am.
Does Mr. Rowland?
No.
Does anyone else come to your house that night or into the morning?
His friends.
Do you remember who came over?
I don't remember one of them name, but one of them name was,
Yeah, speak up.
I don't remember their names, but two people had came to the house.
Were they there to see you or Mr. Rowland?
They was there to see him.
Did they speak and talk?
Yeah, we conversated.
All right. And did they stay or leave?
They left because they was going out.
Who was going out?
All the three of them.
All, including Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Were you planning on going out?
No.
Did they say where they were going?
5 points.
Was that unusual for him to go to 5 Points?
No.
When he left, what car did he leave in?
His car, the Impala.
What, if anything, did you say to him?
Why would you drive that car with blood in it?
Any response?
No.
Do you remember what time they left?
It was early morning.
What do you mean by early morning?
It was after 12 o'clock, so it was another day.
Okay. Do you know exactly what time?
No.
Okay. And let me ask you this. What, if anything, was he wearing when he left to go out with his friends?
He had changed clothes and put on a gray Puma sweatsuit.
Did you see him change clothes?
No.
And I want to ask you, what, if anything, did he have in terms of a phone when you saw him on Friday?
It was a phone in his car, and I asked him where did he get it from because it looked like a female phone.
And why do you say it looked like a female
It
phone?
was a rose gold iPhone, and it was in perfect condition.
All right. And where was it located?
It's a button that you mash, and the radio thing go up. It was in there.
So is there like a holder or something beside?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
All right. And so that's where it was?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Did you ask him where that phone was from?
I asked him where did he get it from.
What did he tell you?
He found it.
And you stated again, what kind of condition was it in?
It was in perfect condition.
Did it look like it'd been dropped?
No.
Did it look like it'd been in the dirt?
No.
Did he ask you, or did he tell you anything about what he planned to do with that phone?
He said he was trying to get it flashed over for me, but I don't do iPhones.
What do you like?
I like Androids.
All right. So you didn't need that phone?
No.
And did you have a phone?
Yes, ma'am.
So he leaves.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Does he come back to your house after he leaves with his friends?
No.
All right. When is the next time you know anything about this case? What do you see?
When it was on the news, I seen that she was missing, and then they showed the clip of his car.
And what did you think when you saw the car?
It all makes sense to me now.
What do you mean by that?
The blood, she's missing. That's his car.
How'd you know it was his car?
Because it had mud on the back by the fender.
And why didn't you call the police at that moment?
I was scared.
So what did you do? Did you go to work?
No.
Why not?
Because I had to get myself together, so I faked my baby being sick to take her to doctor's care so I could get myself together.
Who took you?
His brother.
And what, if anything, did you say to him about the car? Or there being blood in it?
That looks like Nate's car.
All right. And did police ever come speak with you?
Yes, ma'am.
And when was that?
The first time they came, I forgot what day it was, but I had did a double shift, and they came and woke me up out my sleep. And then they came back 2 to 3 days later, but I was off, so I was recuperated.
So I'm going to start with the first time you speak with them.
Mm-hmm.
I think you just told the jury you had a double shift. What was a double shift?
I worked over 12 hours that day.
Over 12 hours?
Yes, ma'am.
And you went home and went to sleep?
Yes, ma'am.
And they woke you up?
Yes, ma'am.
So were you tired or well rested when you talked?
I was tired, exhausted.
And were you trying to be helpful when you talked to them?
I was.
Were you able to tell them everything at that point?
I thought I told them what I could at the time.
Did they do question like I'm doing with you, or was it just talk to them?
It was just talking.
Did you leave out some things?
Yeah.
Did you do it on purpose?
No.
And you said they talked to you another time, and at that point you'd had some sleep.
Yes, ma'am.
And did you talk to them?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you try to tell them everything you could?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And they asked to look at your phone. Did you let them?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you remember what they did with your phone?
And I just know they had it for a long time.
They took it from you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. They took it from you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did they give it back to you?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Did you have any problems with that?
No.
What, if anything, did they do at your house?
They searched my house.
Did you have any problems with that?
No.
Do you remember if his phone was working on the 28th and the 29th? Could you call it?
No.
Why not?
The bill was supposed to be paid, and he didn't pay the bill, so he was using my Wi-Fi
What do you mean by using your Wi-Fi?
to use the internet.
So,
He would connect the phone to the Wi-Fi for the
so
internet.
the phones worked.
Yeah, they worked, but you just had to be connected to the Wi-Fi.
And I'm going to ask you, I'm skipping around a little bit to make sure I covered everything. When you came home from being at McDonald's and he didn't pick you up, so this would be the 28th, and you said you knocked on the door, he looked shook. Could you tell if he'd been asleep?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you know?
I could tell when he been asleep. Like, he got this look where you can tell a person been asleep.
And where had he been sleeping? Could you tell that?
He was in my room, but he wasn't on my bed
How could you tell that?
because the cover and stuff was on the floor.
And on the floor?
Yes, ma'am.
And were his clothes clean or dirty?
Dirty.
Could you tell what was on them?
Blood.
You could see it?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever notice anything about, what if anything did you notice about Chloe's shoes after she got out of his car?
When I took her to doctor's care and she was sitting on the table, she had blood on the bottom of her shoes.
Okay. And so what did you do?
I took them off from her and threw them in the closet.
In your house, when they searched it, did they find any marijuana or any edibles?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
So did you smoke marijuana back then?
Back then I did.
Did Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Beg the court's indulgence. I think I misstated. When he was sleeping and looking shook, I think I said the wrong date. It was the 29th, correct? The 28th was Thursday.
Yeah, this was Friday.
Okay, that's my bad. I said that. I'm sorry. So on the 29th is when you knocked on the door and he looked shook.
Yes,
He was
ma'am.
sleeping in the floor.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And to clarify, you said his brother, was it his blood brother or someone he called brother that took you to doctor's care?
I don't know if it's his blood brother or not, but he called him his brother.
Okay, he called him his brother.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And then you stated he was cleaning the car. Can you tell the jury, where is your trash can outside dumpsters in relation to your house? Are they in the front yard, the backyard?
The backyard.
In the backyard.
Yes, ma'am.
And can you get to those dumpsters do you have to go through your house?
You don't have to. You can go around the fence.
Is there anything that could keep you from being able to go in the dumpster?
No.
So if someone's out front, they can go to the back
Yes, ma'am.
and they can put stuff in the dumpster.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you put anything in the dumpster between Friday and Saturday?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever see him wear head coverings? Like a do-rag or a bandana?
Yes, ma'am.
What did he wear?
He would wear like a toboggan, a scully, a black one, and a do-rag.
Showing you what's already been marked as State's Exhibit number 11.
Yes, ma'am.
Does this look familiar?
Yes, ma'am.
What is this?
A do-rag.
And is this what he was wearing?
Yes, ma'am.
What about State's Exhibit?
I've never seen that.
Never seen that one. But you've seen this one.
Yes, ma'am.
And did he always wear bandanas on his head?
The black one, yes.
Okay. And what about pullover hoodies?
Hoodies, yes.
And you said when he was cleaning, did you ever see him throw away or put items in a bag?
No.
In the car? When he was cleaning the car?
Oh, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
What was he doing with them?
He was putting them, like, the wipes that he done use in a trash bag, like a grocery store bag.
Like, what do you mean by grocery store bag?
Like the plastic bags that you get from the grocery store.
He was putting them in that?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna sorry. I'm gonna show you what the mark that State's Exhibit 14 and ask if you recognize that.
Yes, this is the letter that I had typed.
Can you just speak in the microphone?
This is the letter that I had typed to my daughter's cousin.
And is that the eviction letter?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you leave that letter?
In the glove box.
And is that a fair and accurate depiction of what you left in the glove box?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit 14 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
It's admitted.
So this is the letter that you left in his vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you leave it?
In the glove box.
And what was it in?
An envelope.
And it was in an envelope.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you remember what kind of shoes? I asked you about clothing. What kind of shoes he was wearing?
Nike slides.
What do you mean by slides? Just, some people call them flip-flops.
Yes.
So what are slides?
Nike slides that you just slide your feet in.
Do you remember what color?
Red and black.
Red and black. So the night, I guess it's the morning of the 29th. The morning, so y'all have gone to bed, it's 1:30 in the morning. What does he have on?
The grayish hoodie, Nike hoodie, and the windbreaker pants.
And you said, did he get in the bed with you with all that on?
No,
How did he get in the bed, or did he?
he would take the pants off.
And did he get in the bed with you that night?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And earlier you said at some point he was downstairs. Did he get out of the bed and go downstairs?
Yeah.
Where did the pants go?
They was like when he take his pants off, they would be beside the bed.
When you got up
When
the
he
next
got
morning?
up, he put them back on.
And when he got up to go downstairs, he put him back on?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please the court. All right, Ms. Howard, how are you?
I'm good.
Good. You moved into that Mountain Brook apartment, would that have been beginning of March,
Yes, ma'am.
around maybe March 9th?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right? And the time frame that we're talking about here today is about 3 weeks later, is that right?
That sounds right.
Okay. And at this point, at some point between the time you move into the Mountain Brook apartment on March 9th and March 28th is when you say that Nate comes through the drive-thru when you're at work.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't know the exact day that is?
No.
So, but within that 3-week period.
Yes, ma'am.
And that night that is it nighttime when he drives
Yes.
through? And that night he comes over, brings you home,
Yes, ma'am.
and ends up leaving.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
But he comes back that night,
That morning.
The
to
next
take me
morning.
to work.
so he didn't stay with you that night.
No.
So he came back the next morning and took you to work,
Yes, ma'am.
and you don't know what day that is.
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay. And did that same day that, I guess the first morning that would have been that he took you to work, did he pick you up from work that day?
Yes.
He did, okay. Now, we've talked a lot about Nate's car and what you are saying you saw in that car.
Yes, ma'am.
And you told the jury that you drove that car, right?
I drove it to my mom's house.
And that was the day that he was late picking you up for work.
Yes, ma'am.
And when he did pick you up for work that morning, when he was late picking you up,
Mm-hmm.
you're telling us that you saw blood in the car that morning.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're saying it was dried blood.
Yes, ma'am.
And you got in the car, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
And he drove you to work.
Yes, ma'am.
You made a stop along the way.
We went to the store to get gas.
You got gas. And then he drops you off at work.
Yes, ma'am.
And you say your shirt is wet, so you put on a wet shirt to go to work.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Later that same day, you get back in the car.
Yes, ma'am.
You're driving this time
To go to Northeast.
with blood in the car.
Yes, ma'am.
And at some point, you put your child in that car.
Yes.
Put her in the back seat, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Her car seat's back there,
Yes, ma'am.
her booster seat.
Yes.
Had that booster seat, was that in there it was in the car the morning when he picked you up for work, right?
Yes.
And on the driver's side?
The passenger side.
It's on the passenger side. So it was behind the
The
passenger
passenger
seat
seat.
in the back seat.
Yes, ma'am.
And you could see that.
Yes, ma'am.
And so later that day, you put your daughter, Chloe, you put her in the car,
That was that night. And I had went and picked her up from daycare.
in that seat,
Yes, ma'am.
and you say she gets blood on her shoe
Yes, ma'am.
from the back seat.
From stepping on the floorboard.
Okay. And in this, I'm saying 3 weeks because we're using the time frame of you moving into the Mountain Brook apartment and then March 29th. So about 20 days, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Majority of the time when you two were hanging out, you're at your apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't go anywhere else.
We would stop by his sister's house.
Stop by his sister's house.
Yes, ma'am.
But as far as going out anywhere,
We didn't.
no friends of his would come over to your house
Yes.
Just
They only
that-
came over that one time.
that one time.
Mm-hmm.
So for that short period of time that you guys are romantically involved, you would be in the car but then drive to your house and stay.
Yes.
And you testified that he would come to your house and stay but not stay the night?
Most of the time, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, but he would be there when you would wake up in the morning.
He would make, yes.
Okay. And on how many occasions would you say that was what happened, that he didn't stay the night with you?
When I go to sleep, that's when he would leave.
And you're a hard sleeper,
Yes, ma'am.
and you're sure that he would leave.
Yes, ma'am. Because when I wake up to go to the bathroom, he wouldn't be there.
He wouldn't be
In the house.
in the house. And you have a bathroom upstairs?
Yes, ma'am.
And your bedroom is upstairs?
Yes, ma'am.
And that would be the bathroom that you would go to?
Yes, ma'am.
You remember telling this jury
That he was downstairs.
on direct that he would be sleeping downstairs.
Yes, ma'am.
And that would always be the setup if he would stay?
Until a couple of weeks after, when we first started talking, a couple of weeks after I started letting him sleep upstairs.
Okay. So he had slept upstairs with you?
Yes, ma'am.
In your bed? But you told the jury on the night of the 28th, that Thursday leading into the 29th, which is that Friday morning. Remember, you told us on direct that he went downstairs to sleep on the couch.
Yes, ma'am.
So he didn't stay with you in your bed that night.
No.
And you go to bed that night between 12 and 1 a.m.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is, again, Thursday night, but going into Friday morning hours,
Yes, ma'am.
early morning. You remember speaking with Investigator Blackman.
Yes.
You actually spoke to him at least once, and then you spoke to another investigator with Fled.
Yes, ma'am.
And you remember telling them that you fell asleep in your bed,
Yes, ma'am.
and that was around 1:30, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And at that time, you both are in bed watching TV together.
Yes, ma'am.
You're watching it on, I think it's Chloe's maybe
Our
tablet,
tablet. Yes, ma'am.
and had been watching something maybe on Disney Channel,
Yes, ma'am.
and you fell asleep about 1:30.
Yes, ma'am.
Had even posted something on Snapchat.
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
Okay. And you told us today he's wearing a gray Nike hoodie
Yes, ma'am.
and windbreaker type pants,
Yes, ma'am.
blue,
Yes, ma'am.
and he had been wearing some slides
Yes, ma'am.
and some socks.
Yes, ma'am.
And that he is downstairs in your apartment at 1:30.
No, he was in the bed with me.
So now you're saying he was in the bed with you.
Yes.
Okay. A little confusing. I think on direct you told us he was downstairs at 1:30.
He was with me in the bed.
He was with you in bed. Okay. And you told us that when you wake up the next morning, he's not there.
He's not.
And you told us previously that was something,
He
you didn't have to be to
normally
work until 7, right?
Mhm. Yes,
And this
ma'am.
was, you woke up between 5:30 and 6 a.m.?
Yes, ma'am.
And the plan was that he would come back to take you to work.
He was supposed to stay.
He was supposed to stay that night.
Yes. That night he was supposed to stay. He told me he was going to stay the night with me.
Okay.
He wasn't leaving.
Okay. And previously, he had not stayed the night with you.
No, he always end up leaving early morning when I go to sleep.
When you would go to sleep. But this particular night, he told you he was going to stay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you told us on direct that he told you he would be there when you woke up. That's what you're
Yes.
saying? Okay.
That means he was going to be in the house with me when I wake up.
Gotcha. That's how you took it?
Yes.
Okay. And whenever you woke up and he wasn't there, that's when you start calling him?
Yes, ma'am.
And no response?
No.
No text? The text
It didn't go through.
didn't go through? And that's because
His phone was off.
his phones were off, no service?
No service.
He had to connect to your Wi-Fi.
Or Wi-Fi anywhere else.
If you went out to eat, use the Wi-Fi at the
Mhm.
restaurant. Or if he's at someone's house, connected their Wi-Fi.
Yes.
And that was the same situation for your house?
Yes.
You had
Wi-Fi.
wireless internet at your house?
Yes, ma'am.
And he would connect to that wireless internet. And you're upset with him because he's not there,
Right.
and you have to go to work, right?
Right.
You're going to be late,
And I don't like being late for work.
and that's understandable. And he, at this point, he's got the key to your apartment.
Yes. When I went to my mom's house, I left the key in his car.
You left the key in his car.
Yes.
Was it on? It's on a key ring,
Yes.
along with other keys,
Yes.
including your mom's keys
Those are my mom's keys.
to her house.
Yes.
And that was what was left in his car.
Yes.
Okay. And you're telling us today that he had your shirt for work,
Yes.
and he had taken it to
His
get washed.
sisters to wash it.
And that was the plan the night before?
Yes.
He had told you he was going to do that.
Yes.
And when he brought it back,
It wasn't dry.
it wasn't dry. It was wet.
Yes.
And you had gone the day before, though, to your mom's house.
Right. But I
With
was
the purpose
supposed to
of doing
wash
laundry.
clothes, but it didn't go as planned.
Didn't go as planned. Okay. One second. When he comes to get you, what time exactly is he back at your house?
I don't know the exact time.
But it was after 7 o'clock
Yes.
because you had to be at
Because
work
I had to
at
be
7.
to work at 7.
And do you know what time you actually got to work that day?
Like 7:45.
7:45. And so it was sometime between, we know, 7 and 7:45.
Yes, ma'am.
He's at your house. And that's the first time.
Yes.
And he leaves.
He left.
He's gone for, you
Like
say, about 10 minutes. And that's when he comes back with the shirt.
Yes.
Okay. Had you asked him about the shirt before he left?
Yes. And he said, I got your shirt. I got to take my nephew to school. I'll be right back.
Be right back. And he came right back 10 minutes later.
10 minutes later.
Okay. And at this point, is the sun up?
Yes.
It's come up.
Hmm.
And you get in his car, right? And immediately, you're telling us you noticed the blood.
No.
Not immediately.
No. I didn't notice it until we got to the store to get gas.
Okay. And is that when you asked him about
Yes.
that? Okay. And at what point do you notice this sheet over the back seat?
When we was at the store.
At the store?
Yes.
Are you in the back seat looking around?
No.
You're not in the back seat.
I was in the front seat, in the passenger seat, and I turned around.
Okay. And Chloe's seat's back there
Yes.
in the passenger seat,
Behind the passenger
behind the
seat.
passenger seat. And you can see that?
Yes.
It's not covered up by the sheet?
No.
And the sheet, you say it's draped over the back seat,
Yes.
like hanging over kind of the driver side and then
Over the back.
over the back, but not over Chloe's seat.
No. Her seat was on top of the sheet.
Her sheet's on top of the sheet. And he doesn't tell you anything
No.
about what happened. And you just go to work,
Yeah.
expecting him to come pick you back up.
Yes.
He's got the key to your house still.
Yep.
So when you get home, you testified the door's locked.
Yes.
You can't get inside.
No.
You still can't get him to answer the phone.
No.
Phone's
So
still
I
not working.
The car's in the driveway, so I knew he was in the house, so I started banging on the door.
Phone still, you